Bungie CEO Pete Parsons is retiring from his role. So, for those who don't know who Bungie is, they are the people who initially made Halo games back in the day for Xbox, and then they moved on to work with Sony at some point to make a kind of a legendary game called Destiny, if you heard of that. Destiny is basically an online looter shooter kind of game which actually took off really well, I guess like early 2010s, and it was a huge success. Initially it was a paid game, but then they released Destiny 2, which then eventually ended up being a free-to-play game, and they changed their whole business model around the game to be a free-to-play looter shooter where you can actually pay for DLCs and stuff like that, and it really worked out well for them. They've been going on for years and they're still up. I think they just released like their last DLC this year, because they're kind of wrapping things up with Destiny after all this time, to move on to a game called Marathon. This was Marathon. So it was again one of those shooters. But this time around it's an extraction shooter. So they decided to go kind of like, I don't want to say it's like, Rainbow Six or something like that, but it's an extraction shooter. And right off the bat, it looked interesting, but once you started digging into what the game really is about, there was a bit of a deep dive gameplay reveal after this reveal trailer. It ended up kind of giving an impression to most of us that it's a little bit too generic and undercooked for what it is. They even had some issues with the whole copyright issues with the assets they've used in the game. There were like artists that they were coming out saying they use their digital assets without them getting paid or being notified in the game. I'm not sure to what extent that got resolved, but yeah, there were some copyright issues with the assets used. The vibe, basically these abstract stuff that they used to create this whole Marathon vibe was based on art that already existed. Some were taken one-to-one as well, so there was a whole bunch of issues regarding that as well. But all in all, in terms of gameplay, the concept itself looks pretty cool, the vibe looks pretty cool, but I don't know, it looked like it didn't have that the stay factor, that that the thing that keeps you coming back to it. It looked like one of those games you just try out for a couple of weeks and then you'll get sick of it and then just move on, which is not a great model to have if you especially if you're aiming for a game that's always online, service game like this. You want it to last for years and years like Destiny did. Does Destiny have still players? I'm pretty sure. Let's check. So Destiny 2 has close to 20,000 players playing online right now on Steam, and that's the kind of success you want to have, right? And they have 35,000 to 24-hour peak. All-time peak is just over 3,000. So yeah, so over time you can see like it's fluctuated, but it stayed consistently at the same kind of level over 1 week, 1 year, 3 years. It never really, it peaked, I guess like during DLC launches they peak, but then you maintain similar level base over time, right? And this is the kind of player level that you want to maintain for an online game. You want to have the consistent levels of players playing the game, otherwise it just wouldn't be a success. But it's very hard to replicate one success with another game. Destiny 2, which is basically like an improved version of Destiny 1, it they lucked out with that game. It was a pretty good game, and it came out at the right time, and it maintained that player level even to this day. I had a lot of memories having fun playing that game back in the day with my mates. Don't really play it so much now, but it's a good time, and there's still a lot of player base. But Marathon is their next venture. I'm not really sure what they're doing with Marathon. It's been kind of seen as a departure from what Destiny, the quality, a level of quality, and that Destiny offered so far. So not sure. So definitely there's been some issues in the management side of things, obviously. So yeah, breaking. Bungie CEO Peter Parsons is retiring from this role. I don't think this is breaking. This seems like a pretty planned event, and I found this article from Variety that's talking about his departure from Bungie. Peter Parsons steps down as CEO at PlayStation's Bungie. Justin Truman takes over as studio head at Destiny 2 maker. So, if you zoom in a little bit, you'll see. Longtime CEO at PlayStation's Bungie, Pete Parsons is stepping down from his post at the video game developer behind Destiny 2 and the upcoming Marathon. Parsons will be replaced by Destiny 2 general manager and Bungie chief development officer Justin Truman, who has been named Bungie studio chief. Sources tell Variety Bungie will no longer have a CEO, and Truman's position is now the top role at the Sony-owned company. No more CEO. That's an interesting move. After more than 2 decades of helping build this incredible studio, establishing the Bungie Foundation, and growing inspiring communities around our work, I have decided to pass the torch, Parsons said in a post shared to the Bungie website Thursday. This journey has been the honor of a lifetime. I'm deeply proud of the worlds we built together and the millions of players who call them home, and most of all, I'm privileged by the opportunity to work alongside the incredible minds at Bungie. Bungie was acquired by PlayStation in July 2022. The developer was previously owned by Microsoft from 2000 to 2007 and then split to become a privately held company. The studio is currently working towards a release of its new Marathon game, which has not yet set a launch date. Truman wrote in his own note Thursday, I am committed to supporting and working alongside every member of the team here as we continue pouring our hearts and souls into the games, into these worlds that we love and that we hope have been worth your time and your passion. Because ultimately, those worlds only exist and thrive with you in them. We are hard at work right now doing that, but with Marathon and Destiny, we are currently heads down, but we'll have more to show you in both of these worlds later this year. Okay. Representative for PlayStation declined request for additional comment Thursday. Cool. Yeah, and this is the message. This is the message that Pete Parsons has written on the Bungie website. It's a bit to get through, but I'll just read it out a little bit. After more than 2 decades of helping build this incredible studio, establishing the Bungie Foundation and growing inspiring communities around our work, I have decided to pass the torch. This journey has been an honor of a lifetime, blah, blah, blah. We read all that. When I was asked to lead Bungie in 2015, so he started to this position in 2015. Destiny 2 release date 2017. Okay. Not Destiny 1. 2014. So he started working as CEO at Bungie in 2015. My goal was to grow us into a studio capable of creating and sustaining iconic generation-spanning entertainment. We've been through so much together. We launched a bold new chapter for Destiny, built an enviable independent live ops organization capable of creating and publishing its own games, and joined the incredible family at Sony. Today marks the right time for the new beginnings. The future of Bungie will be in the hands of a new generation of leaders. I'm thrilled to announce that Justin Truman will be stepping into. Okay, I have worked alongside Justin for many years. Blah blah blah. Thank you for being the best. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Yeah. So he's basically moving on. I don't think this is a coincidence, given how badly their latest game has been received and kind of a downward spiral Bungie has been heading in the past many years. And this would have, I mean, my assumption is this would have come as a bit of a restructuring internally, and he probably would have been given the chance to retire or step down, and he took it. That's probably what I think, but take it with a grain of salt, pure speculation here. But yeah, it's definitely interesting that this happened right before a new game launch. If he's been here a while, so it feels like a very odd time to be stepping down, to be honest. It would have made sense that he stepped down maybe a little after the launch or something, but the fact that it's happening now tells us a lot. And the fact that they haven't renamed a CEO, and the fact that there's no replacement, so it's a bit of a weird situation that's going on. So yeah, and it kind of makes sense. These kind of things happen all the time in the corporate world. So ultimately, they're here to make money, so they just got to do what's best for the company. I think it's probably for the better, I guess. But it's too early for us to tell whether this is going to make a substantial difference. It could go either way. Marathon is a bit of a, I'm on the fence about Marathon. It could go either way. It looks like, in terms of like actually how it feels, I'm sure they nailed that right, because Bungie has a lot of experience in shooters, and even Destiny absolutely feels amazing to shoot, and I'm sure they got that part right. But I don't know, as the concept of Marathon, if that is exciting or attractive enough to keep the player keep coming back to it. That'll be the challenge for Bungie. So yeah, let me know if you think this is the right move for Bungie.